looked like a very passive type person, like he living in his own world. He had long hair. He had a nickname that people said used to call him as Jesus Christ. There had to be something wrong with him, but I never thought he would resort to that kind of violence, this individual. And then that night to see him do what he did, it just kind of blew me away. I just couldn't believe it. I said, gee, I never thought a person like that could do a thing like this.
Police got a call at approximately 7:45 p.m. on night, indicating that a woman was being stabbed in front of Walmart at 950 Brookdale Avenue. His victim was a 22-year-old female who was a resident of the city of Cornwall. She was a young lady who was about to get married in the very near future.
We knew it was a complete random act of violence. Okay. It was just, she was not known to him. He had never seen her before. The devil told him to stab the prettiest girl that he's seen. When we walked in, she was covered with, all I remember, she was covered with a white sheet that was completely soaked in the reddest color of blood I've ever seen.
We didn't know how many times she'd been stabbed. No.
So when you arrived at the hospital initially, you didn't know if she was going to live or die?
No.
That's right.
No.
John Clifton was someone who was known to almost all police officers because of his contact that we've had with him in the community. And what I mean by that is that often we would find him acting in a bizarre manner in a public place. Routinely we'd come across him and we'd see he was in a distorted state or a delusional state, but not in a violent manner. But this particular event was a total surprise. This is not something I would have predicted from him.
And I had maybe a minute with my daughter, with Julie. I took my two hands, that's about the only place I could touch her. I put my two hands under Julie's head and I kissed her. And I went into her ear and I says, Mom and Dad's here. You're going in surgery, you're gonna be all right. The strength I felt, it's unbelievable. And all she did was a little nod saying she understood. So I think she was conscious, in pain, and I pulled my hands, walked out of the room, and I lost it.
And I've looked into your background and I know of you, okay?
Within 2 hours of the incident occurring at Walmart, I had occasion to interview John Clifton in an attempt to try and understand how such a horrific event could occur.
There's one thing that getting at that I'm not quite sure about. Okay? And as to why. Why would a nice guy like you do something like that? Seems so unattractive.
When they started the surgery, one nurse kept coming out and telling us, okay, so far so good, and then they come out and a lung had collapsed. Then they came out and said we had to put a chest tube in, and like it kept getting worse and worse. It's devastating. You feel so helpless, you know.
One of the memories that I'll be back.
When the police arrived on scene, the perpetrator, John Clifton, in this case, was still there. He was still standing there. He wasn't trying to avoid detection or flee from the police, and that he was standing there. And what was interesting was the fact that when the officers approached him, he was like in a trance. He was just staring.
Why all of a sudden out of the blue and that you lose control and this happened to them? Do you think that needs an explanation right now? You seem to be upset by it.
No.
It's eating out. It seems to be eating away at you.
Yeah, it's sort of.
You feel bad?
It wasn't. Maybe. I'm not sure.
The psychiatrist in the case felt that he did not have the operating mind in order to form mens rea, and in other words, an intentional will to commit a crime. And as a result, he was sent to a forensic psychiatric facility, the Brockville Mental Health Center.
This is not like a psychiatric unit at a general hospital where you would take your mother. The Brockville Mental Health Center is strictly a forensic psychiatry unit, which means every client here has some sort of criminal charge.
They're not. Hey? Okay. We're trying to get them to do our rounds too, so sorry.
Please come to the med room for your meds at the medicine room.
Look, I have rights in this country, okay? I haven't seen a my lawyer, okay? I beat the shit out of by the cops, and I don't need by anything else.
How many of the patients here are capable of serious violence?
Absolutely all of them.
Everyone.
Every single one. But the potential for violence is what got them here in the first place. Not just because they were schizophrenic, because they were violent.
Could transfer this person down.
B3 South?
B3 South.
Now, is anyone going from the north?
Mr. Clifton is one of the most ill patients that I've seen in my career. His case is complex in the sense that he has a dual diagnosis, obsessive compulsive disorder and schizophrenia.
When there is a crime committed that is as heinous, as violent as the one that Sean committed, we use initially anti-psychotic medications. to treat the agitation and aggression, the delusions, the disconnect with reality. And there's a dramatic change.
What was Sean's demeanor like?
Almost robotic.
Yeah, yeah. Think of yourself as having a mannequin, and there's just this stone response. There is no affect. There's no raising of the eyebrow, sparkling of the eye. There's just nothing.
He was very seclusive when he came in. He didn't interact with anyone that he didn't absolutely have to. He would sit in a common area, but not where other people are sitting.
Sean was so tormented and preoccupied with what was going on in his mind that the world outside of his mind didn't exist. And he didn't care about it because he was so bombarded with thoughts and impulses and rituals that, you know, if you spoke to him, he'd look right at you, but he's not hearing you because he is inside his mind.
Well, of course, with schizophrenia, he was very, very paranoid. But the most striking thing about him at that time was his obsessive-compulsive disorder. In my years here, he had the worst case of obsessive-compulsive disorder that I've ever witnessed. He'd had several rituals. The one that sticks most in my mind would be at meal times. Sean would have to put that tray back, and then he would have to adjust it 5 or 10 or 15 times. But he would not be able to complete his meal and leave the dining area until that ritual had been completed.
If you disturbed him in a conversation, if you tried to interject your opinion or get him to elaborate, he would stop what he was saying and start from the beginning again.
Yes, at a certain time, yes, he was one of the illest individuals we've had through.
I have 6 stab wounds, so some in the hand, some in the back, the leg. I had 2 different surgeries. I have a laparotomy and a thoracotomy, so a lot of incisions under the left breast, and I had another one in my stomach to open up to make sure that there was no serious wounds, puncture wounds. I remember feeling like I was never going to get better, you know, so much pain and just, you know, the pain takes over and you're not sleeping and you just feel like, you know, am I ever going to get back to that same person? You know, I was always a bubbly, outgoing person. I find it kind of brought me down and I was a little bit more angry, just the little things I couldn't do.
Julie, while she was recovering, her plan, of course, her upcoming marriage, but her fear was of not being able to have children. She really wanted children. Yeah, that really bothered her for a while. And
yeah, and of course, now she's got 3 beautiful, beautiful children.
I had a lot of help. My family was there for me. Sorry. I'm lucky that I had them with me, you know, through everything.
For Sean to make any sort of changes and break out of those rituals and those obsessive thoughts is that Sean really had to do the work. There's medication that would help him for the thoughts to kind of, the intensity to decrease. But it was still up to Sean to break those patterns of behavior.
Go ahead. All right.
I got to the end of my rope and confronted my fears. I had a lot of irrational fears, things I was afraid of happening if I didn't do the rituals. Like from the start of this thing, I wondered, why am I fearing this, you know? Like, why do I have to do this stupid nonsense?
Some fellows have a specific horror that they're trying to avoid by going through these rituals. You know, something bad would happen to my sister or my neighbor or my, you know, that kind of thing, where it would be a specific, I'm going through this to avoid them coming to harm.
Oh, I was afraid of getting illness, me getting sick, or something happening to someone in my family or something like that, some kind of disaster like that. I felt awful, like, from the start of this whole obsessive compulsive disorder thing, and doing the rituals, you know, trying to get to the bus stop and not being able to step off the curb and just cross the street and everything. From the start, I was like fed up and tired of it. But eventually, bit by bit, I started to just be a little bold. I had to watch the seconds on the clock for 10 or 15, 20 minutes before I could leave the TV room and stuff like that. I think I just got so frustrated and so tired and fed up, I just found the strength to just kind of gently, carefully leave the TV watching room. And with every day, I got a little more frustrated and fed up and started to just, I guess I still felt afraid, but I went ahead and stepped on cigarette butts on the sidewalk and all those things I was afraid to do for 4 or 5 years.
He's worked very hard
Yes.
himself.
Yeah.
Very
There has
hard.
been an amazing transformation in the gentleman.
All set? Okay, have a good day.
You too,
Yeah,
Mark.
no problem.
Could you see his face?
Yes. Yeah. I remember what he looks like. And I remember after going to the hearing, and I think that was the hearing to see if he was stable or not. And I think that was my first time, seeing him after. And that was my last time because I found it too hard, too difficult to, especially be in the same room with him, and because you don't know what they're thinking, I always have that feeling that, they're gonna attack me, After the court hearing, he was charged with not criminally responsible. He ended up going to Brockville, and I felt in me like it's safe now. Like he's gonna be there in my mind for a very long time, and he'll be taking his medication. And I guess I just felt like I never really thought of later, what's gonna happen later.
Is it very common for patients like Sean Clifton who've committed murder or attempted murder or very serious violence to be released into the community?
That's the mandate. That's what we're told to do. That's what our job is. Regardless of their horrific nature or not, our job is to rehabilitate them, whether it's a shoplifter or is charged with 2 counts of murder.
Nobody ever really just goes. There'll be strings attached. With Sean, he did earn the right to re-enter the community by going through many, many, many stages, a little bit at a time. He would have started out being confined entirely. He would not have been allowed off the ward at all. The next stage would be he would be allowed out on the grounds for 15 minutes at a time, escorted by 2 staff. And then we progress from there to he can go out for 15 minutes 3 times a day by himself. It is very tightly controlled and managed reintegration. He had to prove to the entire team that his risk to the community was basically no more than anyone else's risk. With Sean, that took 8 years.
Do you remember when you first heard that he might be coming out, that they were allowing him some freedom and to go into the community? Were you upset?
Yes, I was upset. I guess all the fear comes back, Who's going to ensure that he's taking his medication? Who's going to make sure that he doesn't come back to Cornwall? Because that would devastate me if I happened to be walking by and saw him,
You come out and you're rooming with another forensic patient. Is it in your mind that, gee, what happens if he reoffends or if he stops taking his meds? Is this something that you gave some thought to?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a fear, but I'm constantly trying to remain friends with Sean, so that that doesn't happen. It doesn't try to solve the problem before it becomes a problem. We met in the hospital. Took us through a list of stuff that like rules for the apartment, so that we knew what was going on.
What kind of rules?
I think it was no violence towards each other. That was my main one anyways. We try to stay friends a lot when we're together. We watch TV and stuff like that together, and we try to stay friends.
One of the folks coming to town again?
Probably on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. You gonna bring us something to eat?
They brought us ham this time. There's ham in the fridge.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
There's a bottle of gravy in there, isn't there?
Oh, that's baked beans.
Oh.
My mother made some baked beans. Yeah.
From scratch?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how she makes them. Like I said, we just try to keep it friends. I try not to piss him off, so that we're not really endangering each other of any of the violent offenses that we were both there for. People think I'm a good fighter, I think, so that's good. I'm a martial artist. I've been in close to 100 fights. I was kind of a smaller guy in school, so I had a few guys picking on me. And so I started studying, kind of beating up tougher guys, guys that would think that they could be aggressive with me. I did strike a few of the cops, and that got me into some hot water as well.
Did you use any of those techniques that we just saw?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah. I got a reputation. Nobody wanted to mess with me. Yeah.
Did you have to beat up a few people first to get the message out there?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Will has no insight, if I can say that, into his mental disorder. He believes totally and completely that he does not have a mental illness. I'm one of the forensic outreach nurses here at the Brockville Mental Health Center. When an individual goes out into the community, we want to keep everybody safe when they're out there, so that basically is our responsibility, to maintain the safety of the community. We have to be in a situation where it's a bit of a policing role. They can be very paranoid when we go to see them because they feel that perhaps we might be taking them back to the hospital.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
His delusions and the involvement that he had with the police.
Where are we going to sit today?
He truly does believe that the police were out to get him, and you would not be able to convince him otherwise.
Was there concerns about the police in Gananoque? What were they?
Yeah. I feel like they had a vendetta against me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because I spoke out against them in previous years.
Okay.
And so there was a bit of a vendetta there. So they picked me up on assault charges, but I hit the man in self-defense.
Okay.
Will has a delusional disorder as opposed to schizophrenia. He has the paranoid beliefs, but as far as his personality goes, it remains the same.
So are you going to be able to do that?
Intellectually,
so.
he's quite a bright individual, and with medications and that sort of thing, his delusions can be controlled.
Yeah.
I found myself harassed by the police.
Right.
They were giving me seatbelt fines and stuff like that.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think every time you went out into the community, they were like they knew where you were and they were following you? And
At times, yes.
at times.
I had to watch what I was driving and where I was going.
Right. I wonder why that was. Do you know?
It's kind of complicated.
Okay.
Hi, is it Dixon?
It is.
Dixon, I'm Sean.
Hi, Sean. Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. I'm the meter greeter for the car wash these days.
Okay.
You can take a seat in the house if you want. We haven't got any reading material right now like they were planning on. But I can make you a pot of coffee if you want, or you can...
I'm being picked up, but thanks for
Really?
that. Great, thanks.
All right. I offer to make coffee for the guys working in the car wash. Jim, you want a coffee? All right.
So you don't get involved in actually washing the cars?
No, I specifically requested to stay away from that kind of thing.
How come?
It's just I get tired and too much bending. It just tires me right out. I wouldn't be able to do it 2 days in a row. My back would hurt and things like that. I need a desk job. I might as well get comfortable.
And generally, since the last time we met, how's your mood been?
Good. It's better. I kind of like my job at the car wash.
Okay.
Gives me a reason to get up in the morning and get out of bed.
Yeah, yeah.
I was there at a home visit, and he decided that he would practice some of his martial arts skills on a punching bag. As he got into that exhibit more and more, it became quite evident that there was a lot of anger in Will. He's a very strong individual, and I actually was terrified.
Good job.
The police have always been something that Will has been quite paranoid about.
Now the problem with the police is that they keep calling this assault, but they're not investigating what happened before that to anger me to take those actions.
You feel it was self-defense?
Yeah, I feel it was self-defense.
I was actually quite terrified for him. Will's offenses were relatively minor assaults. So he's far more danger to himself than he is to others. If he felt he had to defend himself with the police, if he went to assault them or, threaten them at all, he would be in danger because the police carry weapons. And there may be some dire consequences come out of that kind of activity with Will.
This is my anti-psychotic medication. It's called olanzapine, and It's the only thing standing between my sanity and complete madness.
If he stopped taking his medication, how long might it take for him to relapse into a psychotic state?
Being generous, I'd say about 2 weeks. And that's being generous. It's probably would be shorter than that, but in 2 weeks' time, I believe that he probably could become quite psychotic.
And potentially dangerous.
Potentially dangerous.
What would you like to see happen to Sean Clifton?
That there's a law passed that if ever he is free, that he has to be subject to take medication regularly, regular blood tests to ensure that he is, because who says he won't do it again? Just knowing that he's kind of free. He's still monitored, but not as much as being in the hospital. So it's scary to think that, you know, it's out and about. I was afraid. I was afraid for myself, and I always think that everybody says, oh, it was just a random, you know, you were just there at the wrong place at the wrong time, but I guess I just don't understand what they're thinking, and could he come back? Could he be angry at me? It doesn't have to be for a logical reason, just maybe being that he was, you know, sent there, maybe he holds grudges, I don't, you know.
There are so many people with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, who carry on their day-to-day life without necessarily committing violence. Mental illness is just one of the factors that we can manage successfully.
In 2 weeks, I have a hearing with the Ontario Review Board. It's kind of like a parole hearing for a mental patient. This year I'm sort of hoping for a step forward and receive a conditional discharge. That means there's less control over my personal life.
Essentially, you know that one of the concerns the review board has, and that we all have, and of course you do have that, is that we want you to be stable. We don't want what happened to repeat itself.
Right.
Any unusual experiences at all?
None.
Voices?
No.
Or this concern that you may be followed by people?
No, nothing
None of
like
those
that,
things?
no.
Okay. Tell me, have you been taking your medication regularly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is no cure for paranoid schizophrenia. This is a lifelong process that Sean has to go through to maintain his stability and his daily functioning.
It's not nice to have to take pills. I'm hoping there'll be a day in the future when I won't need it, but the doctor, I think, would tell me that I'll need it for the rest of my life.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess I'll have to cooperate. They'll haul me into the hospital if they suspect I'm not taking my medication.
What about if you obtained an absolute discharge
Yeah.
and there were no requirements to take
I'll take the pills.
Any other concern, any other anxiety with regards to the review board hearing?
Oh, just a usual case of nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then, keep up the good job. No drug use, no alcohol. Continue with your medication. And I wish you well for tomorrow then at the board.
Okay, Dr. Ahmed.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm the father of the victim in this case, and I attend the Ontario Review Board hearings annually. And I was told very early on that it was important for me to stay involved in this process, and I'm very glad I did. We all know that if patients like Sean do not take their meds, some of them decompensate rather quickly. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 2 months. If he's got a complete discharge and he's in society and he decides that he doesn't need his medication, the same thing that happened to Julie could happen to anybody. And this is my plight. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
I never went to the hearings. I had worries. I feared Sean. I couldn't bring myself to face Sean Clifton.
Sean is not able to this day to come within 250 kilometers of Cornwall. What if he comes back here and comes after her, you know?
All right. Okay.
So I don't know what is taking that previous hearings.
Well, the father of the victim was there every year except last year and I think the year before. He only missed twice. But this was the first time I've seen the mother there. I guess it doesn't help my arguments for getting back to being a free man when they're there. Well, after the board, they don't just come out and give you a decision right there on the spot. It usually takes a couple months.
I asked the board if I could, off the record, have a chat with them. And I explained to them that as a Christian, I wouldn't feel right in my skin if I didn't do everything possible to make sure that they don't go out and attack your daughter, your daughter, your daughter.
Well, my review board didn't go very well. They brought up things from the long dead past, read police reports that were full of untruths. Overall, they made me sound like a serial killer, like this is, like I don't understand anything, or I just don't know how to act, like I'm not, you know, like I don't know how to act in society or something like that. I wasn't half the madman they suggested I was. When the Crown made his closing arguments, he portrayed me like twice the madman I really am. I'd like to know where those, who made those reports to the police, because there were so many inaccuracies. I never said the only good woman is a dead woman. It's ridiculous. It was utterly ridiculous, the kind of things they said I said.
And you're not denying the fact that the index offense was an attempted murder?
I don't know if I really had intent to kill. It's like I was just driven insane from an impulse. I don't really know if I intended to murder anybody.
How would you describe your mental state?
I was a mess. The day of the index offense, it had been years and years of the rituals, and I'd finally made it downtown, and I was very fed up and frustrated and not in my right mind.
You're saying you were not sane?
Yeah, I would say that. I was not playing with a full deck at that point.
If Sean Clifton were to obtain an absolute discharge, it means that he would be released from the hospital with no controls?
He will be released with no controls, yes.
He would not be required to report to anyone?
He would not be required to report to anyone, yes.
He would not be required to take his meds?
He would not be forced. If required means being forced to take his meds, he would not be required to do so.
He could get on a bus and just disappear somewhere?
He could get on the bus and go anywhere.
Do you think it's likely that Sean will eventually obtain an absolute discharge?
Yes, it's very possible that someday Sean will be discharged, absolutely.
I don't have that much to say.
Not to me, you don't. But you're still blaming me for everything that was said.
I blame you, I blame Mother, and I blame April. April called me a criminal, and she called me a bum. So after I had read what April had did to me, I hit April, and then that's when you jumped in the way, trying to defend April, and I hit you in self-defense.
You attacked me as if I was going to attack you. I wasn't. I was going to stop.
You were going to throw me physically out the door.
That's not going to hit you or anything else. It's not.
Well, you got no right to lay your hands on
I
me
do in
that
my
way.
house. I have the right to throw anybody out that door.
Well, you didn't that day.
In my own home, I don't have the
You
right.
got no right to lay your hands on me. That's called self-defense. If you lay your hands on me and I hit you, it's self-defense.
Not when you're told to leave.
Well,
Wait a minute.
whatever.
Now, you did bring, was it rifles or guns of some sort in
I
it?
told someone that it was okay for them to store a bag in my closet.
Why did you?
And you wouldn't look in the bag?
I didn't look in the bag. I was framed. That's
My
what-
understanding, when those guns, they were sawed off, they were going to use in an armed robbery around
Did I
the
saw them
corner.
off?
I have no idea. I wasn't
No,
there.
I didn't. When I'm 15 years old, yes, and I let someone throw a bag in my closet, and suddenly I'm a gun-toting maniac.
But that's the way the law saw it.
That's the way the law saw it, but they were wrong.
Okay.
There were a few things I wanted to do, but I had some plans before I went insane. And I'd like to get back on track. I had a dictionary, a pocket Oxford dictionary that was always by my side back in Cornwall. This was before my index offense and everything. And used to watch TV with the dictionary at my side, used to sleep at night with it on my nightstand. And words would just come to me. If I didn't know the exact meaning of a word, I had to look it up. It was fun. It was a real love. When I started to get mentally ill in about 1993 or so, I gave up on it. Didn't look up anything. I couldn't care anymore. Feels like my interests are coming back a little bit. I haven't got much proof of being a real intellectual, but I did have a desire to be one. It just popped into my head. I had to buy a dictionary, so.
And have you looked up any words yet?
Oh, many. Every day so far. Every day at least one or two.
There's a business office halfway through the apartment here. It's a little space. Hello? There's a desk because I'm an entrepreneur.
What kind of an entrepreneur are you?
Well, lately I have to admit that I've been more on the relaxed side. I've kind of been tied up with women for the past few months, and I haven't been able to really decide on which business I want to undertake. So I'm still deciding. You know, like last year I was thinking of an electric car for a poor man. Yeah, there's a need for electric car for a poor man. Yeah.
Back in about 1990, when I was half sane, I took a course in the local community college, and within the program there was an introductory to computers course, and it was very basic. They started explaining things right from the start about, you know, this is the monitor, this is the keyboard. Inside the computer there's a hard drive, and what happens when you put a floppy disk into the disk drive. And then I got sick and had to forget about school and computers as well. After a while, my curiosity came back.
It took us several months to get him to the point where he'd send an email.
I opened an email account this afternoon. There it is. Not one to really go along with every fad that comes along, but it's sort of going to be challenging, and I'm kind of looking forward to the challenge of becoming computer literate.
It took him several weeks of thinking about it, what he was going to write, exactly how he would write it.
And I realized I had to type in 1968 instead of just 68. So I got that, I overcame that, and then finally it told me that I'd opened an email account for myself.
And then I came into work a few weeks ago, and there's an email. John Clifton sent me an email.
So this is one song that I wrote. It really bugs me when I see other guys don't treat you like a piece of me. I feel jealous when guys hit on you. Can't fight every guy that you meet.
What if Will snaps and does something at random? It has occurred to me. I guess I'll have to deal with that when it happens. If it happens.
He could reoffend, and I could reoffend as well. I do martial arts, and I've been known to defend myself, so.
I won't say I keep an eye on Will, because I'm not his mother or anything like that, but I'm just aware, keep an eye on Will the same way I would any other forensic patient. After all, that's why we're forensic patients.
If I was sleeping and he's in there for an offense where he stabbed somebody, he could stab me in my sleep. But I don't think Sean would. I don't think Sean's that kind of character.
I like the quiet. I like it nice and quiet. I want my own place. Will and I are going to go our separate ways, and I'll probably run into him as he gets off the bus at the hospital, and I'm getting on the bus after a morning of work or whatever.
Was it done in acrimony?
No. No. No, that's a word I'm going to have to look up. I think I know what it means. Acrimony, like it's bad blood and, yeah. Acrimony, harsh or biting sharpness, especially of words, manner, or disposition. I was close enough.
There was a question as to whether or not Will was taking his medications. When I checked his dosette, there were approximately 6 doses out of the 7 that weren't taken. So that's a pretty good indicator that he's not taking his medications. Well, I'm on my way to see Mr. Bilo, and he's going to have his injection this morning. The reason he's getting an injectable medication is Mr. Bilo has very little insight into his illness, and he believes that he doesn't have a mental illness, so it's important that he have that injection. If he decides that he doesn't want to, Mr. Bilo would have to come back to the hospital. Do you know why you're on your injection?
I don't know.
You have no idea what that's for?
I just figured the doctors mean.
Okay. You figure the doctor's mean and he wants me to come in here and give you an injection every month. Okay. Any concerns?
Like, it's a violation of my rights that I get injections. Like if I'm injected with needles or if I'm forced to take oral medication.
Okay.
They're putting drugs in my body, and my opinion, I don't think that they have the right to do that.
Okay.
The doctor phoned me and he said, your son's not responding to the medication we've got him on. Do I have your permission to change him over to an injection? And I said, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just hold up for a minute.
He was obviously very disappointed at the outcome of the last hearing because he had requested to have a conditional discharge. As to risk, I do not believe there's any change in his risk. His risk is manageable under current condition. He's taking his medication. Psychosis well controlled. He's insightful. So overall, I'm quite pleased.
He's very honest. Talking to Sean about the events of the day, there is that remorse there, and he is worried that this is going to happen again. He's expressing his anxiety to us so that we're going to be able to help him so that he doesn't go and reoffend or go out there and hurt somebody else, because it really isn't something that he wants to do.
Are you ever afraid that you could commit a violent act again?
I never feel like it. I never feel like committing a violent act. But stranger things have happened. I don't think I will. I really don't think I will, but I didn't think I'd ever really do what I did that day at the shopping mall.
How long has it been since you committed?
12 years.
And in 12 years, no further violence?
No, none. I sort of had something I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about a letter of apology to the victims of my index offense.
Okay.
I don't have a clue where to start.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to word it and things to actually do it. I'm not sure how to actually do it. I'm not sure how to word it. I think it's going to be stressful to write this thing, even with the help and everything. It's going to be stressful. But I think it's something that, well, its time has come, and I don't think I want to put it off any longer.
Okay. Right now, if you could think of one thing you would like to say to the victim as a result of your actions, what would it be?
Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is that she's afraid to go out in public anymore. This victim is afraid to go out in public. I'd just like to tell her she wasn't singled out. It was just a random thing, random act. Before that day, I didn't really feel anger towards anybody, but I did feel carried around a lot of pain, but I didn't feel like hurting anybody. It was a kind of a spontaneous act. Even that day, I kind of lost my mind, and I just had to do it, and I just kind of had to do it, I guess. I was pretty sick.
This drug is called risperidone, and it's an anti-psychotic. And I take by injections. I take paliperidone, which is the same as risperidone when it gets into the body. I wasn't taking my pills. I was hiding them under my tongue before. Yeah.
And why was that?
Because I didn't agree with them forcing me to take drugs.
Since there's been a change in Will's medications 6 months to a year ago, there's been a significant change in Will and how he's managing. He does have a long way to go, but he's progressing, and I think he's doing okay.
Well, I sat down with my outreach nurse from the Brockville Psych, and she and I composed a little letter of apology. It's kind of short and to the point, but what I would really prefer would be to make the apology in person and give them a chance to respond and everything, and if they're not completely adverse to the idea, if they're not completely offended by my presence and things like that, I've got it in writing, but I think if I could, I'd do it face to face, if they don't find it completely offensive.
As much as I know that it's just me at the wrong place at the wrong time, why? Is there, why me? I guess if that makes any sense. I guess there's a lot of different questions, what is it that made him lash out, But like, again, I don't understand his sickness, so I don't know everything about his situation or why, so it's all little questions I guess I would have.
It was pretty clear that what he had done. There were several witnesses and to the event, so I mean that wasn't the matter. But the question is, why did this happen? For many years he lived in the community and he never engaged in such activities. So why on this particular night did this occur?
I don't do these kind of things on a regular basis, John. Things were terribly wrong that day in a number of areas. I was just a weak little kid, kind of sickly and really hurting somebody. I was more picked on and put upon than I was an aggressor, for sure. I was not aggressive. That was not part of my makeup or anything. I was born in Cornwall, Ontario. It's right across the St. Lawrence River from New York State. Well, I'd sort of considered suicide at a young age. On occasion, my mother could do some very disturbing things. My mom used to play dead with my brothers when they were just little boys. Frighten the hell out of them. My mother would, on occasion, threaten to commit suicide by jumping off the Seaway International Bridge. She used to just say that she would take the bridge if, she didn't get her way about something. Trips downtown could be difficult and painful. I was sort of used to being laughed at by kids younger than me. In grammar school, I was the slowest runner in baseball, playing like a game of softball. I couldn't hit, I couldn't run, and I couldn't field. I was just hopeless. Couldn't climb to the highest rung on the monkey bars. Couldn't get right up there on the highest rung. Couldn't do that. The other kids would get up there and look down and laugh at me and stuff, and I couldn't climb up. I was singled out for being picked on, bullied and insulted and chased home after school or that prevented from getting home and things like that. I was just the strangest kid anybody had ever seen, I guess.
I thought I was under surveillance by the police department. I figured the police were gonna come and arrest me.
I feel like they had a vendetta against me.
And so you fled and you lived in the woods for a while?
Yes.
How long were you out in the woods?
I would say 3 years.
That long?
Yeah.
And you were 100% convinced that there was no element of mental illness in any of this?
I wouldn't say 100%.
You have some doubts?
I'm not sure about some of it, yeah.
he has come such a long way. The hospital basically saved his life because somebody might have stabbed him, or you never know, or he might have stabbed somebody else, you know, and there would have been even more trouble. And he certainly acts so much different, but he acts more now, more like a man.
2 years ago, this conversation could never have happened.
No, it couldn't have happened.
Couldn't have happened.
Really?
Would have been impossible.
Those two would have been screaming at one another. I want to jump up off the chair. I would just be fearing for my life. It would have been awful. You could not sit like this and discuss, you know. I'm right, aren't I? Yeah.
Been chasing women since I was about 4 years old. Hadn't had a lot of success. I had one girlfriend, and when things kind of went sour between us, I couldn't meet another girl no matter what I tried. I'd been to all the pickup joints in Cornwall. Struck out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Never had much luck in that scene at all, really. And I didn't meet another girl again. Never had another girlfriend, just had one in 5 years of high school.
Since that high school relationship, how has it been for you with girls?
Oh, there's just been no relationship.
He had a concern with women and the fact that he'd never been able to maintain or establish a relationship with a female. And as a result, he harbored a tremendous amount of anxiety towards women because of that.
They hurt more. Being disliked by the girls hurt more than being disliked by the guys. Somebody once made a joke with me about being walked all over with high heels.
That piece of information we thought might have played in as to why he selected a random female in an attempt to kill her, and we felt that it was because of this belief that he had that women had shunned him and that he was unable to have a relationship with them.
Have you ever been told everybody hates you? Have you been told that, John? I've gotten that shit. And I think maybe I'd have to think back, and I'd really have to wonder, did it happen more than once that someone said, everybody hates you, or, you know?
On the day of the index offense, or even weeks before then, he had harbored this delusional belief about females. He had expressed it on several occasions. They were persecuting him. They had special hatred for him.
I just couldn't seem to get that wishful thinking about girls off my back, you know? I couldn't get it off my back, John. They had tremendous importance in my mind, the girls. They had a tremendous importance in my mind, and I couldn't get it off my back. And I had to kind of like balance it, you know, like, Sean, you know, you're gonna get in trouble if you go down that road, or, you know, I kind of had to handle these things. And then when someone finally came along and said, like, Sean, to hell with you, I may have snapped like a dry twig.
Unfortunately, the victim was identified as a representative of the people that hated him. And he was full of anger, and the anger was psychotically motivated as well. This person He's a representative of the gender that didn't like me, and I was going to take the person out. He was motivated by a disorder, a disease of his mind.
I felt so upset. I could see myself losing control if I didn't talk to somebody.
The investigation showed that Sean Clifton had gone to the hospital and he was looking to see someone. The information was that he had told either one of the workers or one of the residents at the group home he lived at that he was hearing voices again, and that he seemed to be, they thought that he was delusional again.
I went up to the psychiatric ward and, well, they said they were too busy to talk to me. I don't think they realized I'd about reached my breaking point.
And then what happened?
Well, then I guess I kind of snapped and I think I lost self-control.
The brakes were off. So consider it like a car that doesn't have a brake on a snowy day. No snow tire, no brake.
But I couldn't stop it. I just couldn't get a grip on myself once things started to roll. Things were terribly wrong that day in a number of areas. And a number of things went wrong. The impairment of the OCD and the slipping away of my self-control. Like I didn't care if they put me in jail forever, you know. I felt that this little feud that was going on between me and some people in my hometown had reached a new level, had reached a new low, and it was now like a war without rules.
It was just a regular night. We had decided to go for a coffee, but Lynn had just had a baby and wanted to get formula and diapers. So let's, take a ride down to Walmart before heading out for a coffee. And just, you think that it's just an ordinary night walking in.
I sat down at Walmart on a bench in the doorway, and I couldn't seem to bring myself down to earth again once I got that upset. And I think that's when I decided I had to do it.
He stood out to me. He stood out so I could see, the long hair, sometimes you just can sense it, you can just see it in their eyes.
After I sat there a little while, I shoplifted a knife, and
I could hear some yelling, and I was walking towards the door, and he started running towards. But I kind of looked back because I thought he was yelling and upset at somebody.
I waited for a member of the opposite sex to come by, and I stabbed one of them.
And I felt like he had punched me. So, I just, at that time, everything's going through your head, like, what did I do? You know, why are you running towards me? And I happened to look down, and that's when I noticed the blood. So at that point, I knew that I had been stabbed. After that, I don't remember too much. I remember falling to the ground and thinking to myself, if I fall, maybe he'll stop, thinking that, you know, I didn't move. I just wanted to kind of play dead, so I knew that, you know, he wouldn't hurt me anymore.
Mr. Clifton continued his attack as she went to the ground, and again lunging with a knife, trying to strike her with it. There were several bystanders at the scene at the particular time, and some of them approached Clifton.
So that's when I stood in front of him and I looked at him and I said to the person, I said, what did you go and do here? And he wouldn't answer me. He backed away.
I could hear yelling, you know, he was cursing, die, you know, you bitch, and all that, you know, just, and at that point, you know, you're still thinking in your head, like, is this it? You know, that's what I kind of felt, you know, it's like, am I gonna see the white light now? You know, is this my time?
I got back down on one knee. I said, what's your name? And she said, Julie. I said, Julie, my name is Derek. And she looked up at me and she says to me, are you my angel? And I said, no, Julie. I said, I'm not your angel. I'm just a regular person here to help you. I says, and you don't have to worry about the guy that hurt you. He's away. I said, and help is on its way.
I think after the shock, kind of the initial shock, you kind of start to feel, I remember feeling the stinging and the I can only describe it more or less like wet, you know, like that feeling of just stinging and wet and just laying there. And I don't think it took long for the ambulance to get there, but to me it felt like an eternity because it was hurting at that point. The pain was unbearable.
And then he started ranting and raving a little bit, like he was just, like he couldn't believe what he was doing. He was getting a little worked up. He goes, you fucking bitch. He said, you're nothing but a fucking bitch. And he's still ranting around, and he's doing like pirouettes. He's like as if he can't believe what he did. And then finally, there was a calm. It was just like a calm, like as if nothing happened. He walked straight up to me, you know, and I'm standing right there. We're like, I could put my hand right on his shoulder. And he says in a very calm voice, he says, do you think the police are going to come? And it sort of stunned me. I just went, like, what? What do I say now? Then all of a sudden, like when I was shocked to see that, all of a sudden you could see the anger come right back in his face, like the other, I don't know how you say, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing. Like it was like Mr. Hyde was coming out of him. And he just got angry and he just looked at me and he says, I hope you fucking die, you cunt, and go to hell. And that's when I said, okay. I started approaching and said, that's enough of that. I said, you did your damage. It's done. Drop the knife. You're not going to hurt her anymore.
I know I didn't try and get away, but I don't recall considering trying to get away.
But you remember sort of lingering at the scene after?
Yeah.
You remember much of the events of that night?
I remember a few things about it.
And even though you were fairly aware, you couldn't stop yourself?
No.
How is it that he can remember so much of what happened that day? Was that aware, but still was unable to stop himself?
The disorder we're dealing with here is not a disorder of memory. The individual does not have, as it were, memory problem. So an individual who suffers from paranoid psychosis will be able to tell you what happened. In fact, they may even plan what happened. Let's come back to Sean. With that psychotically motivated anger, he went into the shop, found the weapon that he needed to use to achieve his goal. It's payback time.
I felt cornered into doing some kind of violent thing, and that's what happened.
What did you hope to accomplish in terms of your hurt and your pain by this stabbing?
I didn't hope to accomplish anything, just I'd do it and it'd be over with, and then I'd forget about it, and I'd get that feeling off my back that I wanted to stab somebody. I was just kind of taken over by it.
And by stabbing her, was this somehow hurting them, hurting the people that had hurt you, or?
I don't know if I wanted to hurt them or if I just wanted that urge to get somebody to do that act, the urge to do it to go away. Several months ago, I kind of was I thought about it. You know, did I really want to hurt that person, or would I have? Would I do it over again if I thought they weren't gonna feel any pain? And I think I would. I'd just do it and say, "There, I've done it." You know, leave me alone. You know. And
So the difference between a Sean Clifton and a person who is not mentally ill who commits murder is the fact that the person who has a mental illness doesn't have a choice in his action. His actions are driven by his illness. On the other hand, a regular person who commits murder has a choice. He makes a choice in their actions.
oh, can I please have a large coffee with 2 cream and 2 teaspoons of honey and a lemon Danish?
Are you suggesting that mentally ill people who commit violent crimes, murders even, can in fact be good people?
Oh, absolutely. And I've seen it time and time again. These are good people. He did a very bad thing, but he's still a very good person. And that's why we can never give up on these people, and that because they are good people.
Sean absolutely is a kind and decent person. It's the illness that is the underlying, cause of the violence, not Sean as a person. Sean is kind, genuine, honest. They're not born violent. This is an illness that develops at a certain age. So absolutely, with treatment and medication, that this can be diminished and they can live happy, healthy lives.
I received this letter a little while ago from Sean Clifton, and have not had a chance to read it, so I will read it to you. Dear Julie and the rest of the Bouvier family, I know that nothing I can say can ever make up for the ordeal and the pain that you have gone through, but I want you to know how deeply sorry I am about what I did to Julie and for the pain I have caused you and your family.
I hope you understand that I have a very serious mental illness. That night I was very, very sick. I was not myself. I was not violent before I became sick. I was quite gentle growing up.
But the night of the incident, the illness took over me. I could not help myself. I have thought many times about apologizing to you.
I was not very well. I found it too hard to put the words on paper.
I do not want Julie to be afraid of me or to be going out. She does not need to worry about me. It was just a completely irrational act. If it had not been her, it would have been somebody else.
I accept that I have a mental illness. I know I need medications. I know I will have to take them for the rest of my life. Once again, I want to say I am deeply sorry to you, Julie, and to Mr. and Mrs. Bouvier and the entire family.
I hope you will accept my apology. Yours sincerely, Sean Clifton.
I don't see him as an evil person. I see him as a sick person. And Sean sounds like a much happier person right now, even taking his medication. I mean,
I do accept his apology, and I feel his sincerity in this. I don't find it necessary to do it in person. I think that I get it, I understand. I truly understand that he is remorseful for everything that happened that night and don't hold anything against him. And just to hear him say, you know, that night it was random, it wasn't you, I wasn't feeling well, I was sick, that's good enough for me.
We've waited so long for an apology, so it's kind of nice for Julie to get the letter in hand, and we're very happy. And we, of course, we said before that we've forgiven Sean, so very grateful to get this letter today.
There's been a psychiatric institution in this community for over 100 years. You can go into a local restaurant or a mall and you'll see maybe every 15 or 20 minutes somebody will walk by mumbling to themselves or displaying some sort of behavior that, again, it's not within the norm.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. What can I get you today?
Can I please have a medium coffee?
Yeah.
And
What would you like in it?
double cream, please.
Okay. Is that everything?
They're just accepted as that's part of the community. I've never seen them overtly or in your face people abusing people in this community that are different.
Do you have family here?
No, I've got family sort of spread out through southeastern Ontario, like in. And I told her what was going on. That they were making a documentary on recovery from mental illness and things like that.
Well, things will work, so they got you on the right medication. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
It's doing its thing. It's
Good.
kind of getting me on the path to reality.
Yep.
So you were very open about the fact with a complete stranger that you had a mental illness.
Yeah, I was. No sense trying to hide it.
How did she respond?
Positively.
What's your name?
Sean Clifton.
John Clifton.
I'm just a guy from the psych who's starring in a documentary. She asked me for my autograph, so I graciously obliged her and signed an autograph for her. She'd have talked to me another 5 or 10 minutes, I think, if I would have had something to say.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
That's really good.
Morning, Wayne.
Morning, Sean. How are you this morning?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I like my freedom, and, well, like I said, it'd be nice to be a regular guy again. I'm not going to say I want to put the crazy period in the past and just forget about it. It's really been an education, and it'll be food for thought for a long time. I guess I'd like to have my sanity back.